By now you've probably noticed that Bitcoin has been steadily moving higher for the past couple of months, and you're probably asking yourself, is this the official bottom? Has Bitcoin started its next bull run? Well, in this video, we're going to answer that question. I'm going to give you my opinion as well as back it up with some charts and news. By the end of the video, you should be pretty well prepared to capture the next Bitcoin bull run. You're not going to want to miss it. There's loads of opportunity to make money. So without further ado, like the video if you enjoy, and let's get right into it. So let's start off by looking at the monthly time frame on Bitcoin, because this is probably the best time frame to look at if you want to compare Bitcoin's current price action to its previous price action. We pretty much have all of Bitcoin's historical data here, all the way up until back in 2012. So it's going to serve pretty well for a historical perspective. And there is some pretty interesting stuff going on here on the monthly time frame. The first thing that I want to point out is these green and blue lines right here. These are the 10 and 20 moving averages. So they're just the average price for the last 10 and 20 amount of candlesticks. So since this is a monthly time frame, these lines are going to represent the 10 and 20 month moving averages, okay? And what we're going to notice is that every single time we've seen a cross of the 10 moving average, or the blue line, above the green line, or the 20 moving average, we begin to see the next Bitcoin bull run, okay? We can see back in 2016, we saw that crossover, and from there, Bitcoin went up, well, that's a little bit hard to see, about 5,000%. And then in late 2019, we see another crossover between those two MAs, and again, we see another big Bitcoin bull run. Now, if you're questioning why the chart looks a little bit different than yours, we are on a logarithmic scale, okay? That's why it looks a little funky, but that was roughly an 890% move from the beginning of that crossover, okay? Now take a look at Bitcoin's chart today, and we're going to see that those MAs are slowly beginning to get closer and closer to each other as Bitcoin's price begins to increase. And they're pretty much the exact same conditions we've seen in the past, right? We have a move higher, and then we see that crossover, and then another move higher, okay? We see a move higher, we see that crossover, and then another move higher. And look at Bitcoin today, we have a move higher, and hopefully we'll see that crossover, and that means we should see from there another big move higher. Now the question is, what can we look to target? Well, it's pretty hard to tell with Bitcoin because there is the law of diminishing returns, right? As Bitcoin price moves higher, it's going to become harder and harder for it to make those huge moves, right? It's much easier for Bitcoin to go from $100 to $11,000 than for Bitcoin to go from $30,000 to, let's say, $1 million, right? But what we can probably assume is that Bitcoin in the next bull run is going to be moving at least a few 100%, right? So from the bottom, let's say roughly 300%. So from the bottom, we should probably at least expect a return to the highs, right? So that's going to be all the way back up to around $70,000 a coin, which means that we still have, if we continue to move higher, we still have roughly another 120% to go. And historically speaking, Bitcoin doesn't stop at its highs, right? Every single time we break a high, we tend to continue moving higher, right? So right now, all we can assume is that Bitcoin, it should at least go back to its previous highs if we do manage to get that moving average crossover. But where is it going to go from there? Well, a simple way that we can gauge the next targets once it breaks its highs are by using the Fibonacci extension tool. Just like this, we go from the most recent low to the most recent high, and we're going to get out of this logarithmic scale. And now we have a few targets that we can look at. Usually when price begins to break a high, we tend to go to the 127 extension or the 1.618. So that gives us two price targets, one of 86,000 and one of 109,000, okay? So from current prices, if we measure that out, we're going to see that Bitcoin should theoretically be able to do another 184% higher. And to the second target, that's going to be another 262% higher. And that's if you're buying right now. Luckily for me, and probably a lot of you, because I made videos months ago about how I was looking to buy in this general area over here, okay, I'm probably going to be looking at something more like a 300+% return if we do get up there, okay? And hopefully you guys bought down there as well. If not, either way, you still have time, right? Not a suggestion to buy, okay? Obviously do your own research. Now, instead of just looking at the charts, we also do have a pretty fundamental reason why Bitcoin should continue to move higher, and that is the fact that financial firms are once again lining up to attempt to get their proposed spot Bitcoin exchange traded funds, or ETFs, approved by the US securities regulator, okay? And BlackRock is one of these firms that is trying to launch these crypto ETFs or Bitcoin spot ETFs. If you don't know, an ETF is an exchange traded fund, and it just basically lets you invest into some sort of asset. It kind of serves as like a derivative to that asset, okay? So basically, in very simple terms, this means that a ton, if not trillions of dollars will start flowing into Bitcoin and possibly the entire crypto market. So if this is approved by the US government, okay, and we do end up seeing a spot ETF, Bitcoin ETF, we should see billions and billions of dollars flood in to Bitcoin, which would obviously result in higher prices. BlackRock, if you didn't know, also pretty much controls the entire world, and one of the main things that they invest in is real estate, okay? So if you are looking to invest into the crypto market, you should probably also be looking to invest in other markets as well. One of my personal favorites, the one that always stands the test of time, is going to be real estate. And luckily for you and for me, there is a way to actually invest into real estate using crypto, and that's going to be Parcel.co. They were kind enough to sponsor this video, and they're actually a product that I really believe in, and I think you will too if you just listen for the next 30 seconds. So Parcel.co basically uses blockchain technology to allow you to invest into different real estate markets using cryptocurrency. So for example, if I want to invest into the Miami area in Florida, which is where I'm from, okay, we can easily do that with as little as $1. All you have to do is connect your wallet and use USDC, and it's literally that simple. You can buy or even short that real estate market. As we can see, we are up 15% in the last 6 months in the Miami area. And what this means for you is that you are basically able to invest in real estate, diversify your portfolio while still using crypto, and benefit from all of the upside without having to deal with the hassle of actually buying physical real estate, which we all know can be super expensive. You have to pay lots of interest, and there's a ton of fees like closing costs and dealing with those agents, right? So this is a super cool way to invest in real estate without actually buying physical property. Now, technically, you're not actually owning any real estate. You're basically investing into an index of the real estate market in that area. So that's very important. But if you use my code down below, you will get a 10% money back on any trade you place. But the catch is you have to hold that trade for at least 2 weeks, which really isn't that hard in the real estate market, right? So if you use my link below, which is the only way you qualify, and let's say you invest $1,000 into Miami Beach, in 2 weeks, if you still hold that same position, you will get 10% of that trade's value, or $100 if you invested $1,000, back into your account, which is pretty cool. It means that you're basically protected against at least a 10% downfall if the market does go down. And if it goes up, you're gonna make even more money. So it's pretty much a win-win no matter how you look at it. So if you're interested, just check out my link in the description down below. Again, you'll get 10% back if you use that link. And let's get back to the Bitcoin analysis. Before we get off of the monthly time frame, the last thing that I want to show you guys is the RSI on the monthly time frame. What you'll notice is that Bitcoin is now crossing back above the halfway mark on the RSI, which is the 50 level. And you'll notice, just like we see with the crossover of the moving averages, every single time Bitcoin has done this, crossing over back above 50, we see a huge skyrocket in Bitcoin's price. So just about every single time, and guess what? We just crossed over once again. So almost everything is looking extremely bullish on Bitcoin right now, and I would be extremely surprised if we somehow end up going lower, and I would be mind blown if we come back and break the lows of Bitcoin. I don't know if that's really possible at this point with all the good news, but nothing is impossible, right? So now let's take a quick look at the weekly time frame, all right? What we're going to see is that we are currently at a pretty big level of resistance, which is the previous lows back in 2021, May of 2021. Okay, previous lows or broken lows become resistance, right? And you can clearly see that that's actually what's happening right now. We're kind of bouncing in that area of resistance. Now, the great thing is that we've already tested this level of resistance one time, and we saw a little bit of a pullback there. And as we know, the more you knock on a door, the weaker it becomes. So we have already knocked on this door, and now we are roaring right back. And this time it looks like we're not really knocking on the door. We're kind of just running at it full sprint, right? So I have some faith that we're going to break through this level of resistance, which is going to be roughly 31,800. So if we can break roughly $32,000 a coin, we will have cleared that level of resistance. And not only that, but it will now become a level of support. So we could see a move higher and then a retest and then a continuation higher from there. Lastly, let's take a look at the daily time frame, and what we're going to see is Bitcoin is actually creating a high tight flag pattern, which if you watched my I Copied a Millionaire Traders video, you'll know that this is actually a really solid strategy and is usually a sign that price is about to make another big move higher, which would also confirm our belief that that resistance level on the weekly time frame is likely to break. Okay, so if we end up breaking through these highs of roughly $31,000 a coin, okay, we should technically see a continuation in Bitcoin's price. Now there's also the possibility that we just kind of fart around here for a little bit and then go higher, but either way, Bitcoin is looking super strong. As you can see, we have this huge move higher, which I believe is supported by higher volume. Okay, and we are retesting these highs and have already broken some of those shorter term highs. All right, so this is all looking really, really good. You can see that we are consistently making higher highs and higher lows. So just about every single thing that I personally take a look at to gauge price is saying that Bitcoin should go higher in the near future. Does that mean that it's going to happen right this instant? No, not necessarily. Again, we could just kind of consolidate a little bit more and then go higher, but I do not see Bitcoin breaking below $25,000 anytime soon. Okay, now if you don't have a brokerage account, I highly recommend the Phemex brokerage account. Okay, if you want to sign up with Phemex, the link is in the description down below. Remember that I used to use Bybit, but Bybit is getting very strict on their sort of KYC and the regulations over there. Also, Bybit isn't supported in the US, Phemex is. So if you want to start trading in the next bull run, which I highly believe that Bitcoin will continue to go higher, if you want to start accumulating that Bitcoin, or even if you want to trade their futures and use some leverage to capture those short-term gains, check out the link in the description down below as well. If you enjoyed the video, smash up that like button. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.